It's slaughter we after. This is basically what we were left with in 2001 when Monsters Inc. ended. The company that served a whole city with electricity using the screams of children turned its way of work towards slaughter. We got a prequel for the film indeed, but it took all in all 20 years until we would get to know what comes next for the friendly monsters we first met at the beginning of this century. Today, the first real PIXAR series, Monsters at Work, has debuted on Disney+, bringing back our favorite characters from the film as well as a group of new fellows the plot of the show is wrapped around. Welcome to the PIXAR Update, my new video series that is meant to expand my channel content by focusing on all the PIXAR films and franchises other than Cars. Episode 1 features a review on the debut of Monsters at Work as well as a quick analysis of the show. To start with, I'd like to give you a short overview of the plot in the first few episodes. Spoiler alert, you can also skip this part. The show starts with Tyler Tuskman, a monster who is even scarier than Sully and is offered to be a scarer at Monsters Inc. Later on, it turns out that only laughers are employed from now on. Tyler now wants to become one and feels hard to accept his new position in the Monsters Inc. facility team, MIFT. When he tries to make a kid laugh, he causes a lot of damage, but is then motivated by Sully not to give up, as he and Mike have also started on the lowest step of the ladder. In the second episode, Tyler goes to Mike's new comedy class and still does not want to be part of his new team. When an electricity problem traps Mike in a kid's room, it's the MIFT team that fixes everything, and even Tyler gets the chance to make a contribution. Though he denies to stay at MIFT, still dreaming of being a laugher. If you're looking for the components that are needed for a good working film or show, you should compare it with the ingredients of a cake. Besides a good plot, those ingredients are the humor or generally emotion and the characters. A good character work can be responsible for the entire success of a film. In Monsters at Work, the developers chose to have a new main character, Tyler Tuskman. The old fellows Mike and Sully still play an important role, though they are not as present as Tyler and his MIFT crew are. It is a good choice in my opinion because we have already had our adventures with Mike and Sully. It could become boring to see only their problems again. But there is one problem with Tyler. At least for me, it is hard to identify with him. Of course, it must be horrible to study something for years in order to be denied to become what you expected to become, a scarer. Though he appears ungrateful and somehow even disrespectful with his colleagues when he always draws their attention to the fact that he does not intend to stay here. Though it will be interesting for sure to see how he faces his situation in the course of the series and how his attitudes will change, as I assume he will be in favor of staying with the MIFT team in the end. As far as the other teammates are concerned, there is Val. She's pushy and intrusive. All the time she's lively like a baby dog and is talking a lot. Her character reminds me of Cruz Ramirez, who could also get on one's nerves by always following her head, and I cannot deal with those characters included in almost every production targeted at kids. Val may look like a nice monster, though her character is somehow monotonous and not too special. Next is the MIFT boss, Fritz. He does not seem to be too serious, but he's a nice character. He may be a bit intrusive too and appears to be a simple guy, but he's okay. The MIFT member I probably like the most is Cutter. She has a dry sense of humor and says what she thinks, directly. I mean, Fritz gives Tyler a cup to welcome him, and Cutter simply tells him it was hers before. This is only one example, but I can tell you that I sympathized with her from the beginning. Last but not least is Duncan. He's a cool character too, as he is not only mysterious but also interesting. Duncan wants to become chief of the MIFT team as soon as Fritz decides to retire, but he has no problem with doing what he's told to. He makes clear to Tyler that he won't be able to take his place, appearing both funny and scary at the same moment. So, that's the main cast for the show besides Mike and Sully, who are now the leaders of Monsters Inc. Now, as I've mentioned those two, I'd like to continue with a review on the humorous design of the show. What is definitely missing in Monsters at Work is a proper sense of humor. Besides Cutter's gags, the only thing that colors the atmosphere are Mike and Sully. They are the veterans, the core of the franchise, and that's why it was important to let them return. I hope the roles won't be limited in the next episodes, as it often is their way of acting that makes the whole series work. The creators of the series are lacking the sense of humor of the original Monsters Inc. film, which was amusing because of body language, jokes, and simple phrases, whereas the show moves on the knife's edge when it tries to create figures like Val, who is actually only 100% power character that rather gets on one's nerves than to amuse the audience. This makes it more boring to watch an episode that runs 20 minutes. I am keen on seeing how the show develops and hope that it gets closer to what the original Monsters Inc. film presented for fans. All in all, I'd like to say that Monsters at Work is good and well done. It's great to see a real show for a Pixar franchise that does not only consist of 2 to 5 minutes tunes and follows a proper story, though you can watch a lack of quality compared to the movie it is based on, which does not need to be the final review for the series, as there are more episodes or even seasons to go. It's more on the level of Monsters University, which was slightly boring too, but still was a good adaptation for the franchise. Those are my final words for today. I hope you enjoyed watching the first Pixar update and that you can get an idea of Monsters at Work now. Thank you very much for watching and see you on soon. Bye!